Aloha and welcome to Capitol Modern. We're in the Leahi Gallery, but we are also outside of the Turnaround Gallery, which features our Akua A, the vast and numerous deities exhibition, in part of Keaolama, which is Enlightened World here at Capitol Modern. My name is Kumul'au Singh.
I'm Honani.
And we would like to take all of you on a brief tour of our exhibition here at Capitol Modern. But before we do so, we'd like to offer up an oli, eulu, which means to grow.
Eulu,
eulu, kinio ke akua, ulu kan he me kanalo. Ie'ie, a'e maia noho I kou kuahu, eia ka waila, he wai e ola noi. And eulu suggests growth, and part of the reason why we like to do this mele is not only to educate those people who will come to Capitol Modern and for all of you who are tuning in, but also to stress the importance of the growth of ie'ie. So the type of work that we do is twine basketry using our indigenous plant, the area root of the ie'ie vine, and it is also indicative when you find ie'ie in our native forest here in Hawaii, throughout the Hawaiian Islands, it's a sign that the forest is considered healthy and thriving. So that's why we wanted to open up with eulu.
So welcome to Akua A. This is the entrance of our exhibit here. Akua A means the vast and numerous deities, and you will see as we go through the tour that we do have different forms of akua or ki'is. Ki'i could be referred to as an image. So an image could be a picture, a stone figure, or any kind of figure that is created.
And so part of the Akua A exhibition is all things ki'i. So we have ki'is made of stone, ki'is made of wood, ki'is made of fiber, and ki'is also printed on material or fabric or kappa. Now, this is the beginning of the exhibition, and it's actually the two spirit stones that we feature here are the works of Uncle Hoaka de los Reyes, who's a stone carver, a master stone carver from Haiku, Maui. And it is actually part of our overflow exhibition. The rest of the overflow can be seen in the sculpture lobby. Now, here we're at the Akua A entrance, and we start in darkness because what we wanted to give the viewers as they enter into this space is to kind of tell a little bit about the story of creation, and that in our Hawaiian system of belief of creation, we believe that all life came out of darkness. So in the Kumulipo, which is the creation chant of story of creation, it tells of how everything was all dark. And so likewise, we have chanting from an audio speaker that's talking about the coming of the ki'is or the akua. And so our kupuna came from the south, from the sea, and that's the name of this chant, ie'ie ke kaimai, from the sea, because our ancestors came by way of canoe from the sea, and with that they brought with them their ancestors and their akua as well.
So over here we have my rendition of ka'ai. There was so many things going on in our lahui with a lot of our iwi kupuna, or our bones from our ancestors, have been washing ashore. We have development going on, and there's a lot of iwi that they're digging out through their development, and there was an urgent need for containers or place something to put our bones inside. So normally, right now, what they're doing, their protocol is to wrap the bones in Kappa and to put them into a lauhala basket until they're ready to inter them into wherever it is that they see fit. I wanted to create something that we had done in Old Hawaii and make my rendition of what the ka'ai for Umi Aliloa looked like, to bring awareness that we can still do this today. We can still create these basketry forms for our ancestors or for our kupuna or our loved ones, and still, whether we choose to inter them into the ground or into a cave or keep them in our home, that this is still possible to be done. Now this is done out of ie'ie or rattan. It's not made out of ie'ie, and we will share why we don't use ie'ie too much as we go further into our exhibition. But this is my rendition of a ka'ai that can be made for today's purposes.
At one time, Bishop Museum actually had the two known ka'ais belonging to Liloa and Lonoika Makahiki, but they were since reinterred back into the Aina in the late 90s, taken from Bishop Museum and taken back to Kona. Here in the ceiling, in this dark space, we have various types of fish traps and baskets made by our students. These ones are mostly made from our haumana from Oahu, and they showcase different examples of the hinalea trap, which kind of looks like a heart shape with the stone on the bottom there. So the hinalea or the wrasse fish trap is a funnel trap. We have these long cylindrical type traps called o'opu traps, meant to catch the o'opu fish. And we also have here in this corner these funnel looking traps called hina'i opai or shrimp traps. We were able to put together, string this nice sculptural form using the students' different shrimp traps. And part of it was, we called it hihia or an entanglement. So the idea is they're all the same in the sense that, like people, the hands that made them, we're all the same. We're human beings. So these are all shrimp traps, yet they're all uniquely different in color, in size, in shape, and form. So it kind of celebrates humanity in that sense that we're not perfect, but we are perfect for the purpose why we're here. Now, if you notice the shrimp traps, the shrimp are outsmarting the traps because they're not going into the traps. So the idea of escaping entanglement is going towards the light. And part of this exhibit here at Capital Modern Keaolama Enlightened World is really to enlighten our local community, our Pacific community, and all those that come here to visit, the importance of how it is as human beings that, we need to celebrate our similarities and not so much our differences. The traps are kind of like all the differences that we've put upon ourselves from the time we were children to the time we're adults. And all of these could be life experiences, from education, your circle of friends, the college or schools you went to, your religious faith, all of those things constitute these traps or barriers that we put on ourselves, and we call it today individualism.
Programs and conditions.
Yeah. So the idea is we need to break those programs and conditions and take a step back and just look and celebrate that we're all the same. Not so different. Mm-hmm. But we come out of the darkness and we come into the light. And so again, this is a transition of coming into enlightenment. So from coming out of darkness, we're coming into this lighted space, and the first things you'll see are 3 Kappa banners that are being hung here. Now the Kappa was produced by Kappa maker and hulu maker Rini Ie'ie Bello. And so the 3 different Kappas represent stories of creation. The first one here represents Pele, the fire goddess, and Namako Kaha'i, the sea goddess. Again, the concept of fire and water. And then, of course, here, this one, Hina, represents the goddess of the moon. She's also goddess of the Kappa maker. So the name of this piece is Hina in the Sky of Diamonds. And this last one here represents Haumea. So Haumea is a female goddess. She's a goddess of fertility, motherhood, and she's also the mother of many different Akua. She gave, in our Hawaiian traditions, she is the mother of many Akua, including Pele and her siblings. But as we come into this space, you'll see there are many ki'is on the wall. And You know, we were very fortunate enough some time ago, the State Foundation Cultural Arts had given us support for their folk traditional arts grant to teach the weaving, the art of ie'ie weaving to students. And so we started our first cohort on the island of Maui back in 2017 and finished in 2019. So it was really a 2-year cohort to get that very first one off the ground. But on this side of the room here, we have traditional Akua, and these are the 4 main paramount Akua of old Hawaii, and they were all male Akua at this point. So we have Ku on this side. So Ku is the god of war and politics and medicine, and is also the masculine creative force. So these are all different images of Ku. Some of these Haunani and I actually have made ourselves, and along with those made by our students. In all of this entire exhibition, of all the keys that you'll see here today, this is the only key that is made completely of ie'ie. So the fibers used is all ie'ie for the weaving of this particular key, and that was for the very first key cohort in Maui in 2018-19. The other keys, as Hanan was sharing, consists mostly of rattan, and there is some elements or essence of ie'ie in it, but it's made of rattan mostly because Hawaii today is our native forest, our ie'ie is being surrounded by invasives, which prevents it from competing against invasives. So therefore, when we are able to harvest ie'ie, it's it's very rare to get a lot of it here on Oahu. Sometimes we have to travel to the neighbor island like Hawaii Island, where ie'ie can still be found in a lot of our forests. But it's because of the rapid ohia, that fungus that's affecting trees which ie'ie grows on, like koa and ohia. That is one of the reasons why we do not pick ie'ie often to do a lot of the work that we do. We teach our students using rattan. So rattan is a good material to use when learning how to do this type of weaving. So it's a good alternative material. And because it's not native, we're not hurting our native resources. So these are all Ku images made by our various students from our different cohorts, from our Hilo cohort, from our Kona cohort, from our Maui cohort. Now we have 2 images here that do not fall in the category of Akua because they look more human-like. And so these are more like ancestral images. And this one was made by one of our students, Kamuela Chun. And this represents his great-great-great-grandfather, Keawe'ehu, who was an ali'i or chief from Hawaii Island. So this one takes more of a human type of image look. In our exhibit too, we also want to outfit our exhibit with other artisans that their work supports the type of work that we're doing. And so this one is Bojack Key. He does a lot of fine work as far as Hawaiian accessories, especially chiefly accessories. So this is his rendition of Pohaku Palawa, or Leiniho Pohaku as he calls it, and it's made from heavy basalt rock from Hawaii Island.
Yeah. And he has some kupe'e over here as well that we're displaying.
Yeah.
This is his work. He has beautiful work.
So Bo made those wristlets.
It's right here.
The 3 wristlets here. And he uses different kinds of native hardwoods as well as bone. This one here that looks like made with the boar tusk bracelets. Where the boar tusk, that one little black one there, that's made from black coral. So that's a very special boar tusk wristlet that was made by Bojack. So we have more Ku images on the walls here. The first 4 images here are Ku images, including this one here. So this is a portrait of a ki'i that was taken to Mauna Kea during the height of the Mauna Kea movement in 2019. It was made by our student Kaipo Kekona, and when the ki'i went to Mauna Kea, that's when this photograph was taken. It was digitized and then made into this creative art piece. What's special about this piece is that last year it burned in the Lahaina wildfires because he's one of our students from Maui. So we actually had 2 students from our Maui cohort in 2017-2019. 2 students of ours lost their homes and their ki'is in the Maui fires. So today, although this ki'i is not physically with us, we still have a picture of that ki'i, and that's why it's here. presented along with all these other existing ki'is that we have.
And that has actually, that particular image with the Maui fire has been popping up. I mean, they've been making stickers out of them, and it's really nice to see that this has been an uplifting thing that we would never have thought for our lahui. It really is an uplift for our lahui to have these images available to use.
And so these images, like Hanani says, not only intended to inspire our lahui, but also uplift our students, whom many are practitioners in their own right. So we have students who are hula practitioners, we have feather practitioners, we have people who stack stones and build fish pond type practitioners in our group. And so by them learning to do these different type of weaving forms is just like another feather in their cap. Mm-hmm. So these 4 ki'is here are also images of ku. Now you notice not all the ku images have niho or teeth in them. And traditionally, ku images had teeth in them made from the dog teeth, from the Polynesian dog, so they're the canines. And the reason why teeth was used for the ku images because ku was also a traditional god that oftentimes human sacrifices were given to. And so the idea that ku consumes the essence or the mana of the individual, that's why it has teeth. Now, not all of our students want teeth for their ki'is because not all of their ki'is, or in fact, all of these ki'is do not necessarily represent the artifact kupuna ones that were made 200, 300 years ago. Because these were made with different intentions, and although they resemble the gods of old, they are not of the gods of old. They are created for different intentions, different purposes to suit the needs of our student practitioners who made them. Not all of them have Hawaiian names either. This one's name is Bert. And so, you know, from Bert and Ernie and Sesame Street. So some of our students choose English names because if they were to name each ki'i with a Hawaiian name, then when they pass on in this life, someone in the family has that responsibility, that kuleana, to take over the caring of these ki'is. So these ki'is are not just art pieces that you see out in the rest of the gallery. These ki'is were actually created for purpose to serve in cultural events, cultural practices, and again, to, like Hanani shared earlier, to inspire our people. Mm-hmm. So this example of this ku is ku moku hali'i. Ku who covers the land with the verdant forest, like how we see on our video there, how our mountains are covered with forest trees. Well, that's ku moku hali'i. This image is the only image of kane that we have here in the exhibit. Traditionally, kane was never woven. So this image of kane was inspired from an artifact wooden carving of kane. So many of our students, when we start to tell them that eventually they're going to weave an image, we have them start to do their homework very early on to try to find as many images about the akua that they want to recreate. And oftentimes, there are no woven images for some of these akua, so we have to tell them, look for outside of the realm of fiber and go into wood or stone, and they can find that. So this one represents Kane, god of fresh water, sunlight, the creator.
And the only woven Kane so far.
Right.
He's the first woven Kane, owned by Kimione Kane.
Yeah, Kimiona. So we have our 46 students, like Hanani shared, whose work is presented here. This is the only Kane image. Mm-hmm. Then these are the only 3 Kanaloa images. Kanaloa, of course, is the god of the ocean. And so these are 3 different representations of Kanaloa. This is Mo'o Kanaloa. This one is Kane Pouliuli, Kane of the darkest depth that light cannot penetrate. And this is Kanaloa as well. Then we also have Lono here. These 4 images represent Lono. Lono is the god of the makahiki, god of fertility, god of agriculture, god of peace. And so these images were inspired by artifact wood carvings of Lono. Mm-hmm. And that's how we got these ones here. Now,
the students start off the beginning of the year, as we run the cohorts 12 to 14 months. So they start off with basic basketry, and then they go into fish traps. They start to learn the different fish traps, hinalea, o'opu, as well as the opai or shrimp trap. And then also they learn how to make fish traps as well, as you saw earlier in the the dark area. So it's for the first 6-7 months, they're just doing repetition on just learning basics and techniques as they start to move through the year. So they come to class, they learn how to make from beginning to end a small scale, and you give them the dimensions, and between that time and the next class, they're to make a bigger scale of what that lesson was, and then that's how we would move forward. We have everybody critique the work, show what they learned, what was their challenges, and that's how we've been working to help each other learn and progress through that. So once they finish with that, the next 6 months is research to figure out what they want to create, what they resonate with. So a lot of, like Kumula A was sharing, some of them are stone builders, some of them are hula practitioners. So it's really what resonates with them and what they do in the community to help them to use this images to help them in their practice. And they're also cultural barriers as well. So these, like Kumula A said, these are the Lono images, and then now we're going to go into a different realm.
So these keys on this side are not the paramount Akua, but they are Akua. Some of them are Alma Akua, or ancestral images. Some of them are Mo'o images, and some are Kupuna images. So this one here is a Kupuna image. We call this image Lena because the maker was Lena Wender. She was our kupuna in our 2018-19 Maui cohort, but she passed away last year. So she has her hair and her father's hair in this key. So whenever our students would use human hair or something that's personal to a human, the effects of a person, then it becomes a very special image, and it's not just a typical ki'i, but it's very personal because you have personal effects, that elements that were added into the ki'i, which makes it more than just an image. These images here represent mo'o. Mo'os are oftentimes protectors. Most oftentimes mo'o are female, although we do have male mo'os in our Hawaiian culture. But these two represent female Akua. So this is Ahia, who is the mo'o guardian of Kaua'ula Valley, which is next to Lahaina. And this one here is Hauahine, who represents the mo'o of Kailua, the guardian of Koinui Marsh and Ka'elepulu Fish Pond. This interesting ki'i here in the corner is the patron goddess of bird catchers, so that's Ha'ina Kolo. The artist tried to use different elements of birds into it, just to, because there's no artifact images of Ha'ina Kolo. We only know of Ha'ina Kolo through our oral traditions and through our stories, and so this was his visual representation of Ha'ina Kolo. We have another key with human hair. This one is by Gail Miyaguchi, one of our students on Maui. So it's now considered like an ancestral image. We have a couple animal images here. So this one is Pueo, and this is also a Pueo, or an owl. And so this one represents Kani Ililani, and this one is Pueo Nanapono, so the owl who watches carefully over the Ibrao family. This image here represents Kamapua'a. Kamapua'a was known for being the demigod. He could turn into a man, turn into a pig, so he was sort of like a shapeshifter, can turn into a fish as well, the Humu Humu Nuku Nuku Apua'a. So this one was actually made by one of our students who actually shot the pig on his homestead in Big Island, and that's the boar tusk from that wild pig. Mm-hmm. This is a mo'o here, or a lizard again. This one represents Moike Keawe'ai, who was a little mo'o Akua carved out of wood that was taken out of the Haleo Keawe, or the bone house, in Kona in early 1826 or so. Mm-hmm. And so this is a larger scale rendition of what that mo'o looked like. Yeah.
And the creator of that mo'o is also a descendant from that space, from Honaunau. So it's very tied into his genealogy.
We have other images here. So this is a kupuna image called Makayo. This image here is Ohi Ohi Kupua, who is made by a master lauhala weaver. So we even have master practitioners in our class of other mediums. So this master hala weaver took our class, and now she's an ie'ie weaver as well. And this represents Ohi Ohi Kupua, who was the first She's the patron Akua for all the weavers because she was the first lauhala tree that took root in the islands that became the mother of all other lauhala trees or pandanus trees. This represents Tutupele from Uncle Lolana Madeiras, one of our kupunas from Kona. This is Popoki Wahine, who is a patron goddess of women warriors. So in Old Hawaii, women would fight alongside their husbands and men of their community. So this one highlights all the different kinds of weapons or implements that a woman warrior might use in battle. So everything from her hair pick to her ma'a, to her club, to her tripping club, to her strangle cord. So there are many things here that highlights that type of occupation in Old Hawaii. Yeah. This one is Frank. Frank does have a Hawaiian name, but also he's known as Frank. So he is a large human-sized hula ki'i. And so the person who made this, Taupori Tangaro, is a hula, a kumu hula, but a hula practitioner. He also likes to create his own hula ki'is and do performances to educate our people. And so that's his Frank. And then we have a couple ki'is here that are not away, that are away from the wall. So most of the ki'is are against the wall because out of respect, you don't stand behind a ki'i. But these two ki'is here, we wanted to highlight the back sides of the ki'is, so that's why they're not really against the wall. This one here is a two-faced ki'i, so although it's rooted in something traditional, it's very contemporary because we have no artifact ki'is that have two faces. But this one has two faces because the maker, she has twins, and so the name of this ki'i is called Namahoe, or the twins, because she has twin boys. This one here is Hi'iaka Ikapolio Pele, who again in our Hawaiian stories is a healer and a favorite younger sister of the goddess of fire Pele. So on the back of, what's highlighting on the back is her spinal cord with palawa. So palawa is ivory made, gotten from teeth of whales. That was the only source of ivory we had in Old Hawaii. So it's also carved to represent like the bow tie or peva patches. So like woodworkers, whenever there's cracks in the wood, they would put a peva to arrest the crack from causing further damage. So it's symbolic of her ability to heal. So she's a healer, as Pele, the older sister, creates land and destroys land with her volcanic eruptions. It is Hi'iaka who helps to break down the cinder and the volcanic soil. And oftentimes one of the first plants that would come through a lava field, former lava field, would be the kupu-kupu or the fern. And so she's wearing her wristlets made of kupu-kupu fern. You probably see that we have a lot of other featherwork throughout the exhibit, and the reason why we have featherwork is for the lack of featherwork that traditionally these ki'is would have had in Old Hawaii. So when we think about our artifact examples of our ki'i Akua hulu, or our feather gods, there are 19 artifacts in the world. 2 of them are in Hawaii at the Bishop Museum. Now, we have a student here, Jeff Donahue from Maui, who feathered his ki'i, and so a year ago, this ki'i looked very similar to one of these ki'is here. It was unfeathered. But he took a feather class, and we encourage our students to take a feather class from Kumurik San Nicolas. And so he started to learn how to make feather capes first, and once he got a good hand on how to do the feather work on a netting, like a cape, then he applied the concept onto his ki'i by tying netting onto his ki'i and tying feather bundles onto the netting, and that's how we create the feather god image. Like the feathered helmets that we have in a glass case there. Prior to them being feathered, they look like the helmets that we see suspended above. And so these helmets were woven out of the ie'ie fiber, and then they were covered with a fine mesh netting and then tied on, feather bundles were tied onto the netting, and that's how we got the feathered helmet. This display of Mahiole that we have above us, we call it Keala o Nalani, or the path of the heavenly ones, the chiefs, because that's also a metaphor for the chief when we say heavenly ones. And so that's why the helmets who represent the ali'i are above us, so that way, we can look at them, but we can't touch them. Yeah. And so we have only our Maui cohort and Mahi were the only ones who've learned Mahiole work, or how to create the helmets, from our instructions. So now that we've had 4 cohorts since we first started doing these classes in the community, we are now going to start another Mahiole or helmet class, which is really year 2, which is advanced weaving. And we're actually starting a new cohort and leaving it open for all of our former students who want to learn how to do the helmets. The only reason we have only some of the helmets here is because we started this helmet, the Mahiole class in 2019 and 2020, but COVID interrupted that cohort. And so our students are only able to learn how to make a few helmets. And there are 6 types, but 3 are represented here today in the Kappa Modern. Now, when we go down to this side here, we have some of our contemporary items on this island over here. And so what we have here is ie'ie. And these are the area roots of the ie'ie vine. So when we talk about ie'ie, ie'ie is a plant used by different people in our culture. So hula practitioners, they would use the leaves. Sometimes they use the entire vine. But in our cultural practice, we only use the area roots that hang from the vine. So we have to collect the roots first. Then we have to clean them, and we have to splice them and split them. And once we sort them all by size, then we can go through the process of weaving something with the ie'ie roots. Traditionally, if they were dyed, the dyeing would occur first, and then the dyed rootlets would be added into the weave to create a helmet such as this that has patterns in it. Now, what's also unique about this table here is not only do we encourage our students to do the traditional work, but we also encourage them to do the contemporary work. So making hats that are contemporary and, perfect for today's time, that you can use it. So it really is a wearable art that, you can use it, but it's still considered an art form, So this fedora, for example.
Yeah.
And so Hanani and I were very blessed that one of our students made these hats for us. These 2 were made by Gail Miyaguchi, a him and hers hat. And this pipe stovetop hat was made by Ed Lum. Recently, Hanan and I, we went to London in September of 2022, and we were invited to go there because we're makers of the Akua Hulu, the feather god images, and we were invited to the British Museum to go and look at their inventory of the 5 feather gods that they have there from Hawaii, along with other cultural practitioners. And what was birthed out of that experience was a community book project that Haunan and I are working with the British Museum. So a book on some of our projects that we are replicating some artifacts will be coming out in January of 2025. And so we're looking forward to that book coming out. It'll be available for the community and the public.
So with that book, we replicated kupuna that is in the British Museum. So this is some of the items. I did a papale. And actually, when we went to the British Museum, it just caught my eye because it was big, and the intricacy of the small weaving of the designs just caught my eye. And little did I know when we were going to do this book project that was something that I was going to replicate. And then Kumula'au has made a replication of
this Mahiole
or huaka. We also started to make some hina'i baskets that is similar to what our kupuna looks like over there at British Museum. So they're smaller. It's a smaller scale because we had so much time. We had to finish this within a year. So besides running the 2 cohorts, the Oahu cohort and the Honaunau cohort this year, we also were doing these projects on the side.
And so this is a 3-ply tricolor hina'i ipu, or woven on a gourd. And like Hani says, these are smaller scales. It was just to show our methodology and technique and our approach and how to recreate something that was like this big at the British Museum.
Yeah.
And
it was a learning process too, because you won't know until you actually study. You start to study the kupuna pieces, and then you start to learn all of these little things that they did when they were weaving that actually brings more wealth to us, so we can share that, apply it first, and then share it with our students.
So actually, this is Haunani's first hat. She made 2. The second hat went to the British Museum.
Yeah.
And In our book project, I did 2 helmets. This one made of ie'ie and another one made of rattan, and the rattan one went to the British Museum.
And besides those 2 helmets and 2 hats, we also made these 2 baskets.
So this gourd basket is made with ie'ie. This one is made with rattan. Again, this is to highlight the colors and how do you, when you do 3-ply weaving, how do you use the 3 colors in that type of pattern.
Yeah. So we do encourage the students to evolve in the practice. So we have Jeff Donahue from Maui is experimenting with different colors. His work is incredible. He does beautiful work with his baskets. So we normally call on him now if we need baskets to be made for particular reasons. Besides that, we have hula practitioners creating their own uli. So this one is made by Taupori Tangaro from Hilo, Panaeva, and this is by Gail Miyaguchi in our Maui cohort, and she's from Wai'ehu. Then one of our students wanted to create something that's a little bit more with his flair, so he calls this a shinalea. Now, the basket over there, the brass fish basket that Kumula was talking about with the stone, so that's what it looks like when we're creating them. But he took his own flair and added a little bit of some of his artistic creations and created not a hinalea, but a shinalea. And I thought that was so clever and so bright of him to create something like that. I loved it so much. He didn't want to bring it. He didn't want it to be displayed, but I think this is important to show that we can evolve and create and get our creative juices running. And so we're very proud of our students that's evolving and utilizing this form of work for whatever they see that is possible. And because we work with ie'ie and it's found in the forest, we wanted to bring the forest into this space. So we asked one of our students, Cody Pacheco, who works on a big island. He works in the mountains. I'm not exactly sure what he does, but I know that he works with native birds.
Yeah, he works with
and so
conservatory.
We asked him if he could take shots of the ie'ie in the forest and share that environment, because we wanted that environment in this space. And so he came up with different clips, and then we decided to put it here. So at least we have the forest in this space, to have the sounds of what you hear when you're in the forest, because that's where we go when our students are ready. After the first 6-7 months, then we take them into the forest. Then they can see where the ie'ie grows, see the inhabitant, and then maybe we'll share a little bit, and then they can harvest a little bit, because we don't want to take too much. On Oahu, we don't have too much. It's very scarce here. Big Island, they have more, but we still want to make sure that we can conserve and take care of those so that they will last for generations to come. Like Kumula'au said, if you see ie'ie in a forest, it's a good indication it's a healthy forest. So the more ie'ie we see, the better it is. So we're trying to work with different, partner with different entities so that we can actually go into the forest and take care of these spaces that have ie'ie, so that we have a space to go to if we ever need to.
Yep, and so this is basically our overview of our Akua A, the vast and numerous deities space here at Capitol Modern. We want to encourage and invite everyone who sees this video to please come down to Capitol Modern if you can. It's located on the corner of Hotel and Richard Street, right across from Iolani Palace. And this exhibit will be up to December. So please, if you're able to come down and take a look, probably maybe on a first Friday night, we'll be here. Oftentimes we're here throughout the week, usually Tuesday, Fridays from 11 to 1 o'clock, to help curate our exhibition space, to hold space, and to, again, the whole purpose of why we're here is really to help educate not just our Hawaiian community, but the greater Hawaii community. A cultural practitioner is someone who, in their native culture, practices a certain type of practice, whether it be in Hawaiian culture, it could be Kappa making, it could be drum making, it could be making Hawaiian implements, fishing tools, or in our case, ie'ie basketry. A culture bearer is actually someone who not only practices the culture, but actually takes it upon themselves to teach others so that the art that they practice will continue for generations. Ie'ie is the Hawaiian word for Freycinetea arborea, which is the climbing screw pine. It's an indigenous plant that can be found in Hawaii and other parts of the Pacific, places like Tahiti, French Polynesia, Aotearoa, Fiji, and Samoa as well, and Marquesas.